What's up, guys? Thanks for clicking that button. This is Dan. We're just going to do a very quick video on who the fuck Mike McCoy is. I'm going to show you his reaction, and then we're going to show you the bullshit press interview that his buddy released, telling all of us what a great character he is and how heroic he is. So, Mike McCoy was seen right after Charlie Kirk is shot in the neck. He was seen walking away casually, and then it looked like he was on his phone afterwards. When they questioned him about it, he said that he had just got off the phone with Erica Kirk and was telling her what happened. To me, this is super fucking weird. I don't know about you, but I would hope that my friends would run to my aid, try to assist in any type of way of saving me, and then make sure everything was being done to save my life, whether it be keeping me in place, sticking to protocol, clearing what could be a dangerous crowd away from my body, any of those things. And I know for a fact, I would hope. I've been in situations before where I know I've reacted a certain way, so I know that I would react if my friend gets shot. I would run up to him. I would try to stop the bleeding. I would do a lot of things. 911 might be a call, but calling his wife and telling her information that you don't even know if it's valid, because literally the second Charlie Kirk goes down, he turns and just strides away backwards. It's really fucking weird. So we're going to take a look at that video, and then we're going to take a look at Ian Carroll reacting to the statement that they released, which is complete garbage. And you guys let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for checking out the video. We're going to continue to cover this. I don't expect to find any answers. I expect all loose ends to be tied up, wrapped up, and for the general public to move on, just like typically happens in this country. Our government is very good at counterintelligence, getting people to move on, disproving, making people look crazy, discrediting, and then making something new happen that grabs people's attention. So I don't really expect anything to happen, but the more we share, the more we make videos, the more we like, subscribe to each other's videos, eventually people have to wake up to the corruption. And you can't look at these videos and not see corruption. His entire team looks corrupt. There's shady ass fucking suspects everywhere. FBI does nothing to help. Erica Kirk is nowhere making sure that he got a legit autopsy. Everyone just disappears. Everything about it's weird, guys. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Mikey McCoy with his late boss Charlie Kirk during AmFest of 2023. And looking more into Mikey, according to his LinkedIn, he's been working for Charlie since he was just 18 years old, first as his executive assistant, and then since January 2024, his chief of staff. Now let's take a closer look at the behavior of the amazing Mikey McCoy in the seconds and minutes after Charlie Kirk's life was tragically taken away. This is footage compiled by Sam Parker. You can see Mikey identified there on the left, or standing next to the left of the tent. Charlie Kirk has just a few seconds left here on this earth. And you can see here, as soon as Charlie is hit, Mikey, in one swift motion, picks up the phone and looks to be calling someone. Very odd. He doesn't duck down like everybody else. He doesn't run to Charlie's aid. He literally picks up the phone and turns around and starts walking. Back to the footage one more time. You can see, again, Charlie is hit. Mikey, one movement, picks up the phone and starts walking. You'll see him disappear from view to the back of the tent, and he will reappear in just a few seconds. And there he is again. You can clearly see that he appears to be on the phone with somebody. That is just odd behavior. I'm sorry. It's very weird. You know, it's not criminal behavior, but it is very weird. You know, he's just so calm.
This is a quick jam-packed little video. In this shot here, Charlie is still on the ground with people around him. And I'm just going to drag through the video to get through to some of the interesting spots. So we've got Mikey McCoy, and he is right here. Let me take it like I think that's the best I can do with him. Just 2 or 3 frames there.
Once again, he's just walking away. Here it is, another angle. You can see Charlie below being carried into the SUV, and Mikey is in the distance, looks to be still just on the phone, casually strolling away from the scene of the crime. Is that normal? And maybe the bigger question I'm thinking, and you're probably wondering the same thing too, is who was he calling? Well, I did some digging, and according to the New York Times, it was one Erica Kirk. Quote, Miss Kirk was sitting in her mother's hospital room at 11:23 a.m. local time in Phoenix when she saw the number of her husband's longtime assistant, Michael McCoy, appear on her phone. In retrospect, she said she knew the words, "He's been shot," before Mr. McCoy screamed them. According to official records, Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 11:23 in Phoenix. So if the New York Times is being 100% accurate, the only person that Mikey could have been on the phone with is Erica. So look, maybe Mikey was just doing his job. He's just Mr. Cool, extreme composure in the face of emergency. Some people have that kind of ability. I don't. Some people do. But the weird part in all this that I can't really let go of is that he witnessed practically nothing, right? He saw Charlie get shot, then he picks up his phone, supposedly calls Erica, immediately turns around, walks away. He didn't even look at Charlie, so he would really have no idea of Charlie's condition unless, of course, he was told by somebody. Maybe somebody was feeding him the information as he was on the phone. I don't know. Or the quiet part out loud is maybe he knew something was going to happen before it did.
I'm going to show you guys a video from TMZ when Charlie Kirk got shot, and then they started celebrating on air, and then they sent out an apology, and they tried to tell us that in no way were they celebrating Charlie Kirk, and then he starts to go in to defend the type of people that work for him. And this just reminded me a lot of what you're about to see on camera. Let me know what you think. To me, this is someone that we know was lying because we saw a back room of what they were laughing and cheering at and screaming about. And then it got proven it was the exact second that there was a message on the TV that confirmed that Charlie Kirk was dead. So they were back there celebrating that Charlie Kirk, a grown man, an American with 2 children who lives here in our country, got assassinated in front of thousands of kids, teenagers, students, moms, dads. They were cheering about that. Then they released a video trying to say that's not what they were cheering about and they would never do that. And they know all the types of people who are involved and none of them, blah, 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 fucking scumbags would ever do that. So I'm going to show you those 2 quick videos, and then you're going to see the video of them basically telling everybody to back the fuck off. None of them are dirty. They didn't do anything wrong. And we should all just move on with our fucking lives. All right. Let me know what you guys think.
5 o'clock Eastern. Janet, go to have somebody look at the Fox.
Trump. Trump just posted that he's dead. Let's get it up.
Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
All right, so is this ready to pull the trigger when you get?
There were some people in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase, and they were laughing, they were clapping, and you could hear it out here. And we want to make a couple of things clear. One is that I know these people, and they were not laughing, they were not reacting that way about Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were not. They would not work here if they did.
And that being said, we acknowledge that it was horrible timing, and for that we are sorry.
We apologize. We apologize that you had to hear that.
And I get why, if you're watching the stream, you may have felt that that's what the laughter was about. We assure you it was not about that, but it was horrible timing. And
by the way, I get it too, and he gets it because we listened as we were talking.
You can go back and look on the stream. I actually walked off camera to go back and find out what the hell was going on because it was inappropriate for the laughter at that time. But no one was laughing about the Charlie Kirk tragedy.
Nevertheless, we apologize for the way it sounded. We were live streaming all day during this tragedy when something happened in our office. As we were reporting the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there were some people in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase, and they were laughing, they were clapping, and you could hear it out here. And we want to make a couple of things clear. One is that I know these people, and they were not laughing, they were not reacting that way about Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were not. They would not work here if they did.
And that being said, we acknowledge that it was horrible timing. And for that, we are sorry.
We apologize. We apologize that you had to hear that.
And I get why, if you're watching the stream, you may have felt that that's what the laughter was about. We assure you, it was not about that, but it was horrible timing. And
by the way, I get it too, and he gets it because we listened as we were talking.
You can go back and look on the stream. I actually walked off camera to go back and find out what the hell was going on because it was inappropriate for the laughter at that time. But no one was laughing about the Charlie Kirk tragedy.
Nevertheless, we apologize for the way it sounded.
Spinal injury until you have properly addressed that spinal injury, and neither of those things were done. You do not rush him to a hospital. You stop the bleeding, period. That is first aid 101. That's the ABCs of first aid. That's literally the ABCs of first aid.
Was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because I had to be a hero. That was not my job. I remember even running past, both of us going past.
Where's Mikey? No one cares what your job was, bro. Where's Mikey?
The SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going.
Yes, the ABCs is airway, breathing, circulation, meaning if the airway is blocked, first fix that. Make sure their mouth isn't full of debris or vomit or blood or whatever. Make sure there's a clear airway. Make sure their chest is breathing. Make sure their lungs are pumping air. Without that, they will die immediately. Third, circulation. And actually, here's the tricky part. The third is circulation, which is the heart, the circulatory system. You need blood for your brain. If you don't have that, you're going to die immediately. But actually, before the ABCs is hemorrhaging, is arterial bleeding. That is before the ABCs. A lot of people call it the XABCs, as in exsanguination, as in you're going to bleed out if you have an arterial bleed, and you treat that before the airway. And until the exsanguinating bleed, the arterial bleed is dealt with, you don't even deal with the airway. You sure as fuck do not move the patient. Okay? Anyways.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for...
You were ahead of Mikey?
Can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before.
Yeah, because he's 24. And whatever the hell is going on is a little uncomfortable. This testimony is not doing what bro thinks it's doing.
And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erica. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erica. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erica. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad.
So we've just, explained both of the theories that are going around. We hit both of those theories. So check. What are we talking about now?
Someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
While he's walking away to the parking lot. How fast were these conversations? Were you there for those conversations, Blake? Because we have video of him walking away to the parking lot on the phone. You were not with him when he walked away to the parking lot on the phone. So are you basing this off of your your experience, or off of what he told you?
And I guess it's very disgusting for me as someone who witnessed this, who saw Mikey hugely distressed and then step up in the moment. Because
step up? You mean step out in the moment, actually, I think. Anyone in their position that can't realize why this looks suspicious and instead jumps to, this is disgusting, you're an idiot. How dumb are you? Of course this is suspicious. And maybe there isn't a rational explanation, but it's still a really dumb strategy to call it disgusting instead of to acknowledge how suspicious it looks. Because we're going to come back to the hole in this whole thing in just a second.
After that call was over, I saw Mikey get total mastery of himself, that he realized he had to step up in this situation. And from that point, he was like a general directing a battle where he was, grabbing people and saying, okay, we need to.
So this is after he walked away to the parking lot. Did he come back, or what? Is this when he got all the blood on him that wasn't there?
Get to the hospital, and we need to.
What? The car was gone. He was walking away as they loaded him into the car. He had nothing to do with them loading him into the car.
Do these things, and you guys need to wait here. I need to get in here to get information so that I can get it to Erica. And when we learned he was dead, he came out and he told us, and then he says, now none of you can say anything that you've heard, because Erica is not going to hear about this from anyone except me.
Can I ask a question? I've just been thrown into this.
Guys, what kind of testimony is this? This is them loading Charlie into the car. This video is not going to show enough of it. We want this video. Okay? So, this video is the same time frame as he's being loaded into the car. That is Mikey McCoy back there, walking away. We have it on video. He did not compose himself and come back and get his wits together and start directing everything and say, hey, we need to get him into the car and get him to the hospital, and I'm going to get into the car and take him to the hospital and all that. Excuse me?
This 10 minutes ago, but there's a suggestion online that Mikey, Charlie's chief of staff, one of the most sincere people you'd ever meet, brilliant, Christian, kind, everyone he ever met in his entire life, couldn't hurt a fly, was part of a conspiracy to murder Charlie. That's what's going on.
Yeah. It's vile.
Okay, so we have the useful idiot too that doesn't have he doesn't have a Twitter account. He doesn't know anything. He's just here to not know what's going on. He's very confused.
It's utterly vile.
Who would do this?
They didn't brief you before you came on the show, bro?
What type of individual? Just to create content, do we think? Or is there what's the ulterior?
I don't know. I think.
Just to create content?
A lot of this mindset just sort of fuels itself.
No, you fuel it, bro. You and your weird fucking statements fuel it. Every statement that comes out fuels it more and more and more.
It's sort of addictive in the same way a lot of social media stuff is addictive, or in the way honestly, something like pornography is addictive or something. Like they get.
Wow. Y'all a bunch of gooners. Y'all are a bunch of gooners for wanting to know the truth. You fucking gooner, how could you possibly ask who killed Charlie Kirk? How could you possibly want to make sure that we know who killed Charlie Kirk, you damn gooner? Like, what? I did not expect it to be this bad. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad that you guys decided we needed to watch this first right away.
Really, they almost get a high off of like the idea of like that they're doing.
If anyone in the Twitch chat knows how to clip a Twitch and post it to Twitter, please do. Please clip this shit and post our response to Twitter right now. This is insane.
Something that's daring or out there.
Yeah, and I want to make one other point though. And this is actually to your point. I
am momentarily going to play devil's advocate in a second here and try to make the most rational explanation out of his explanation, and I'll try to explain a version of that side of the story that could explain some of Mikey's actions, and we'll look at what parts still we kind of might have a question about from the devil's advocate perspective, aside from how blatantly weird this is.
You saw Mikey do heroic things that day. I saw Mikey do heroic things. I was not on site, but I immediately flew to Utah. We got a plane. I mean, it's not something that I'm used to, but it was like my wife went with me. We went straight over. I knew I needed to be with Erica and the team immediately just because, I just knew. But that moment when I got the news, I was so shell-shocked. I was not even there, but I was immediately traumatized. My brain fries like an egg. I can't see straight. I can't think straight.
So I pulled out my cell phone and started recording a selfie video of myself so that everyone would know where I was at the moment, just in case. And then I held on to it. I'm making a joke.
All I knew is that, like, what's happening? My wife came in. She, like, hugged me. We started crying together. And I can't even remember those moments very clearly. I wasn't even there. Mikey was two
Mikey's
steps
talked
away,
about that,
and I asked him. I was like, "Do you even remember the moments after?" He's like, "I can't. I can't even really remember. I know I called Erica. I know I called my wife. I know I called my dad. I can't even really remember the steps I took. I can't." But here's the last thing I want to make a point of. And Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. He said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erica.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And he drilled that into Mikey's brain so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew he had to do it. And by the way, last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions in.
See, Andrew's actually good at his job. Regardless of whether you're suspicious of him or not, I've heard lots of both sides. I've heard lots of rumors about Andrew Colvett that I'm not going to repeat right now. But he's good at his job. And he understands that we need to address the actual allegations and provide a rational explanation. So I'm very curious to hear this explanation.
Into this event. So he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away, and he's...
not even walk. I want to, because people are talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area with grates, so you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot, and so there's a little narrow gap that I think people. It's not really walking; it's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point.
Okay.
To get out of the area. And
anyways, well, the point is he walks briskly. I don't even care if he's walking, running, whatever, because again, the most traumatic thing you could imagine had just happened to him. My brain fried. I cannot imagine what was going through your guys' head being on the scene and seeing it and knowing, again, the security guys are jumping in. He turns and he, like, I'm telling you, Mikey that day turned into a general on a field, marshaling the...
No, he fucking didn't. I'm not following that general into battle. The general that walks away in shock with a quivering lip. He's 24 years old. Not the 24-year-olds of old on the battlefields charging into battle. No, sir.
The troops going, but like for a second there, obviously he didn't know what to do, and then he clicked into gear eventually.
He did.
It was amazing.
Mikey was a heroic figure on that day, and I really want anyone who finds like these narratives attacking him to be remotely credible to really, really stop and think about what you are doing.
Okay, let's stop and think about it. And let's actually play the other side of this out. It is a reasonable explanation for the phone situation to say that he was taking social content throughout the day and posting it and doing all that. Very reasonable explanation. That is the job of a person like Chief of Staff on the side of his other jobs. That makes perfect sense to me. That also, in my mind, would explain why the phone is in his hand constantly and why he's kind of waiting and kind of putting it up and doing stuff, putting it back. That would explain why he's doing so much texting. It wouldn't really explain why Dan Flood is checking his watch kind of apparently as texts are going out, but that's an extrapolation. You can't infer necessarily that Dan Flood's watch notification, the chief of security, is in relation to the texting stuff. That's could be social posting. Totally could be. It is a reasonable explanation in my mind that this is plugging both ears. I just did it. That makes sense. If I'm doing this and it's like, holy shit. And if the speakers are reverbing the sound of the shot, we all heard that video, the audio is all fucked because the sound is insane right then. That's not a bad explanation for it, that I am willing to hear out to the end of that explanation. That explanation does not exactly account for him walking all the way away to the parking lot with the phone still at his ear. Now, there's a bit of time that we don't really know where Mikey is, that I feel like we have some video footage that kind of puts him near to the SUV that Charlie's going to be taken into before they bring Charlie to the SUV. But by the time Charlie's getting loaded into the SUV, Mikey is gone. Long gone. Okay? This is our still frame of it, with Mikey way back there in the background. Continuing to walk. Continuing to walk. Continuing to walk. He's back there. Now he's gone behind the white truck. So Colvett gets it. He knows the job. And I am open to hearing a full explanation that exonerates Mikey McCoy. I am, genuinely. That being said, subpoena that motherfucker's phone. Subpoena that. We want to know all the phone calls that Mikey McCoy made that day. I'm sorry. You can be Charlie's best friend. You can be Mikey's best friend. This is a criminal investigation. And that is the kind of thing that I would want to know if I was criminally investigating this.